Because ultimately, when we're talking about making a deal with the devil, selling your soul, it's an issue of where does your allegiance lie? Where does your worship lie? That's essentially what's going on behind the scenes, behind that statement. Who do you worship? All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Tattooed Preacher podcast. This is episode 37. Hope you are all doing awesome today. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the topic, the subject surrounding someone selling their soul or making a deal with the devil. It's a topic that kind of goes through, waves of significance in social media land, and it's kind of made this resurgence as of late. I actually just did a video on this on YouTube last week, and so this episode I want to dive a bit deeper into that topic because it's something that I think is going to become more and more prevalent in our culture. It's going to affect a lot more people. Because typically when you think of this idea of someone selling their soul, certain images come into our minds and we think certain things, which there's a lot of truth to them, and we're going to get into that. But I think that we're heading into an era, an epoch of time where it's going to go a lot deeper and it's going to affect a lot more people. And I think that this subject is so much more significant than people realize. So that's where we're going in this episode. But before we get there, if you are watching this on YouTube, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe. If you haven't already, that would just help out my channel. And if you are listening to this on Apple or Spotify or whatever podcast platform you adhere to, if you could leave a review, leave a comment, that would help me out great. So here we go, episode 37, making a deal with the devil. Let's go. So have you all heard of the Faustian bargain? And this is a little excerpt from the Encyclopedia Britannica. The Faustian bargain is a pact whereby a person trades something of supreme moral or spiritual importance, such as personal values or the soul, for some worldly or material benefit, such as knowledge, power, riches, etc. The term refers to the legend of Faust or Faustus or Dr. Faustus, a character in German folklore and literature who agrees to surrender his soul to an evil spirit named Mephistopheles or Mephisto, who is a representative of Satan, after a certain period of time in exchange for otherwise unattainable knowledge and magical powers that give him access to all the world's pleasures. So that's an excerpt from the Encyclopedia Britannica on the Faustian bargain. And so it's an ancient German folklore story that deals with this dude who makes a deal with an evil spirit who is a representative of Satan in exchange for knowledge, power, riches, fame, etc. And so when you hear that and then you look at our modern ideas surrounding making a deal with the devil or selling your soul to the devil that we see and that we hear all the time. I mean, it's just becoming more and more common with the influential people of society, actors, actresses, musical artists, athletes, business moguls, like that whole sphere. More and more stuff is coming out where certain deals are made with the dark side in exchange for fame, fortune, wealth, influence, power. And so though this idea is rooted in folklore, it's like we see this thing playing out in real time. And so I think that's not a coincidence. And this is the angle that I want to take, is that it's not a coincidence. You know, people don't just throw this idea around for no reason. Like if it was one person saying something, one person saying it, whatever, okay. But it's like over and over and over and over, all across the entertainment industry, all across, you know, sports world, the business world, like every significant, you know, mountain of influence in our culture, you see this idea prevalent. But it's also interesting to look at that this idea goes far back, way past the Faustian bargain. I think this is from the 15th or 16th century, but it goes way back to Bible days. And I'm talking all the way back to the beginning. Think of Adam and Eve. They're in the garden. They're in paradise. And God gives them two commands. Or basically, God gives them one command. You don't eat from the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. Don't do it. The devil comes, tempts them, convinces them. God's holding out on you. You know, God doesn't want you to know what he knows. There's things that God is just keeping hidden from you. And if you eat it, you'll be like him. You will know knowledge of good and bad, of good and evil. And so they bite into that temptation. They succumb to it, take the fruit, and then all of a sudden now they were aware of things and knowledge that God never intended them to be aware of. But it's interesting. It's this idea of knowledge, that they were tempted with this, they were lured with this, that there's more to know. God's keeping things hidden from you. So violate his command and then you will be just as knowledgeable as him. There's this power when it comes to knowledge, this internal desire that we have as humans. And we see that in Adam and Eve. And then we also fast forward to, again, every episode, I bring this up at least once, Genesis 6, with the fallen angels who came to earth to mate with human women, creating a hybrid race, part divine, part human. Now, they didn't just come to do that. They also came and they brought forbidden knowledge. And there's a lot of people out there who speculate that there was actually an agreement made between the fallen angels and humanity, that because the fallen angels came with a whole bunch of secret, hidden knowledge, wisdom about the universe, about how it was created, about how it functions, about how it actually operates. And so people speculate that there was a deal made. We'll give you knowledge, we'll give you skills, we'll teach you about all this stuff, about technology, metallurgy, the cutting of roots, medicine, like astrology, like all this stuff in exchange for your women. And so some people think that that's how that deal went down. But again, it was this deal, humanity making a deal for more knowledge, more wisdom, more understanding about our world and how it works. And then there's a very interesting verse in 1 Kings dealing with King Ahab, who was the most wicked king that Israel ever had. He was the king of the northern kingdom, and he was actually married. In episode 36, we did a deep dive into Jezebel, who was the most wicked queen that ever reigned in Israel. But it says something interesting in 1 Kings 21, verse 25, speaking of Ahab. It says, there was none, now check this out, there was none who sold himself to do what was evil in the sight of the Lord, like Ahab, whom Jezebel his wife incited. There was none who sold himself to do what was evil in the sight of the Lord like Ahab. So Ahab marries this evil woman who comes in and contaminates the entire country with sorcery, with witchcraft, with idolatry. And her husband, who's the king, sells himself to do everything that was anti-God. He gave himself over. And you have to think, you just have to assume in that exchange, he wasn't just going to sell himself and go against God for nothing. Like there was something, there was an exchange that was being made there. And who knows what Jezebel was whispering in his ear, because it says she incited him to do that. What stuff that what temptation, what deception that he bought into to make that deal. But he sold himself. And so this idea, this Faustian bargain, goes way back to the beginning. This where humans have this innate desire for knowledge, for power, for fame, for wealth, for riches. This whole idea, I mean, this is back from day one. And so this subject is not just a modern phenomena. It's not just a modern idea. I think roots of it goes way back. And I think it's so much more deeper and entrenched in history and entrenched in society and cultures than I think we even realize. And so that's just a quick backstory into this subject and how it's something that's been around for forever. And so as we look at it, and I'm going to suggest that there's different levels to this. And I think I'm going to break this down into 3 different levels, because I think that it's so much more. Like the Faustian bargain, though it's got, I think, merit and concrete evidence that it exists, that it's real, it doesn't just stop with what we think it stops at, but I think it's all pushing and leading culture and society to the ultimate end of the world, rise of the Antichrist, that whole thing. But we're going to get there. So when you hear the phrase, oh, they sold their soul, so-and-so sold their soul to the devil, or so-and-so made a deal with the devil. I mean, we've heard this now for years. Celebrities coming onto the scene. For example, you have a famous story, Bob Dylan, legendary musical artist. And this is from an interview that he was in, and he says, I made a bargain a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end. And then the interviewer asks him, well, who'd you make this bargain with? And he says, this bargain was with the chief commander of this world and also the world that we can't see. And he wasn't talking about God, because the interviewer was asking him, like, why is it that you're still, after all these years, because at this point he was older and he had done everything. So, like, why was he still writing songs and performing and traveling and doing all this stuff? And was his response, because he made a deal. He made a bargain for fame, for fortune, for success, for wealth, and he had to hold up his end, because if you make a deal and you don't hold up your end, it doesn't end well for you. And so that's a famous example of someone selling their soul. Recently, Kanye West was on an interview, and I did a video about this, where he said that Drake also has sold his soul. And so he's reached his level of fame and success because they've had to make these deals with the dark side. And the more deals that you make, the more power, the more wealth, the more fortune, the more influence you get. A famous comedian / actress named Melissa Ford said this, and I quote, "If your main goal is to be famous, then you're going to do a lot to get there, like sign your name in blood in a contract with the devil. Like you are going to end up on a one-way street going nowhere. Like that is just the truth. I've seen so many people like forsake their moral code and their value system just for a little bit of fame. It is not worth it at the end of the day, end quote. And so that's some pretty telling words. And then you see artists who come out and they're relatively normal, like normal looking, talented people like Lady Gaga when she first came out, or Taylor Swift, or Sam Smith. These people, they came out just as normal looking young men and women. And then you see the transition. And I actually, in my recent video, I put up this graphic of you see the transition from normal to literally like walking demonic beings. The kind of evil imagery and dress and lyrical musical content and everything has just gone so demonic and satanic. And it's just evidence that to get to where they're at, there is a price, there is a cost. And they have to make deals. That's how you progress in the music industry. That's how you move up the ranks, because there's lots of actors who never make it that high, and they've come out and said. I recently saw one on Facebook where one of the actors from the show when I was a kid, it was called Boy Meets World. And it was on every Friday nights, TGIF Fridays. I used to watch it with my sisters, and one of the actors on it, was popular for that time. But then it said they came to him, his agency came to him and said, okay, so if you want to progress your career, you're going to have to do some stuff. And so they sent him, and he didn't really know what that meant. They sent him to a hotel room to meet with a well-known Hollywood director. He walks in the room, Buddy's in a robe, and all of a sudden he's like, hey, if you want to progress your career, you're going to have to let me do stuff to you. And you're going to have to do stuff to me. And then he turned around and got right out of there, and his career never went higher. It just kind of fizzled out. This is what happens. Like, this is happening right now. It's these deals. And so when you think of, selling your soul to the devil, making a deal with the devil, level one, that's what it is. And for so long, it's been people in the entertainment industry, actors, actresses, musicians, athletes. If they want to really progress their careers, it doesn't start off with, hey, you got to sign this contract in blood. That's not level one. Level one is you get a small role on a TV show, or you start doing commercials, or, you have one of your songs played on, less popular radio programs or whatever. And then they come to you and then they say, hey, do you want to increase your influence? Do you want to grow? We can make you famous. Do you want bigger roles? Do you want your own CD that will go viral? Like they come to you and make you these promises, but to do that, you got to do stuff. And so it starts with these small little deals where you sacrifice more and more of your moral code and compass. That's why a lot of them are Christians. Katy Perry was a Christian, and she came up, and she wasn't making it big in the Christian world. She said, I saw an interview where she said that she wanted to be the next Amy Grant in the Christian space, but it never panned out. So she went the secular route, and they jumped all over her. And now you see the stuff the levels that she's gotten to, and the things that the deals that she's had to make to get where she's at. And it's all over. So they come at you, and they make you just shift your beliefs just a little bit more with maybe song selection, song choice, maybe a role in a show or a movie that maybe violates your conscience, and they just slowly get you. Hey, if you want to progress, you're going to have to do this role. You're going to have to do this scene. Hey, if you want to progress your music career, you're going to have to do a song about this. Even though you don't really like it, that's what you have to do. And they just slowly, you make deal, you make another deal, and then the more you sacrifice, the more you lose yourself, but the more fame you begin to get, the more influence, the more popularity. And this is what happens. And then you fast forward a number of years, and this is where you start getting really to make that next jump from like a B star, a B-list celebrity to the upper echelon. Those deals become more and more jacked up to where, like Melissa Ford said, where you make covenants, blood covenants, where you sign your name in blood with a contract with the devil. I mean, that's how you make it to the top. And this isn't conspiracy anymore. This isn't, hearsay information. I mean, it's there's so much stuff out there now from people coming forward. And the fact that so many Christians are oblivious to this, or just people in general are oblivious to this, or they don't want to believe it, it just blows my mind because it's everywhere. And so the first level, you start off slow, making small deals and more deals and then more deals, and then you keep selling yourself more and more till you sell yourself completely, and that's what you're to get to the top. And it comes with a price, and it comes with a cost, and you see the evidence of it. You see how they dress, how they talk, the values they hold to, these celebrities. It comes with a price. It's the Faustian bargain. So that's the first level. So when you think of someone selling their soul, that's generally what we think about. Celebrities, actors, athletes, whatever, making deals with the devil, making deals with the dark side for fame, for fortune, for wealth, for influence, for all of that. And that's happened, that's happening, and that's going to continue to happen. But I think it goes bigger than that. And so this next level, I think we have shifted into a new era because of the rise of social media. So where, level one with celebrities, it was just a small segment of the population. Not everyone could be actors or actresses. Not everyone has their music, played on the radio. Not everyone can have those chances to be welcomed into the club. But the rise of social media has given, if you have a cell phone, has given everybody a pulpit, has given everybody a mic, has given everybody a voice. And so you look at TikTok, you look at Instagram, you look at Snapchat, you look at YouTube, you look at all these platforms, and over the last number of years, you have everyday, ordinary people all of a sudden get millions and millions of followers, have crazy influence on a global stage to the likes that we've never seen in history. And so it's not just these, A-list celebrities, this small group of people. It's now anybody and everybody can become famous. And so it's completely changed the game. We are in this era where there's millions of people now that have millions upon millions of followers, that have a voice. And it's like you put instead of having to, send CDs to all radio stations or send tracks of your songs to radio stations and going that method, it's like you just post your song on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram and it goes viral and then you get recognized. It's like it's completely cut out the middleman, where you can just represent yourself now, expose yourself on a global stage. And so you have these random people putting out more stuff than the A-list celebrities. have more significance than the A-list celebrities. And so it's changed the game. And so if you are for lack of a better term, the elitists behind the scenes who are controlling things, that pool has just gotten exponentially bigger to where now you have these social media influencers are getting targeted, and they're getting promised, hey, the same Faustian bargain. Hey, I see that you have millions of followers. Hey, we can increase that. We can give you more influence on a global stage. Hey, start talking about these kind of things. Start repping this product. Start repping this brand. And you can see that people and channels, as they get success, as they grow, it's like their content changes. And what started out as, maybe comedy, maybe just, someone randomly talking about things that make them laugh, is now become super political. And so you see these little bargains now that content creators are making, these little deals that they're making for fame, for influence. And you see these no-name comedians posting their stuff on TikTok now all of a sudden are like, have joined the A-list celebrity stage. Where you have musical artists that were no-name and one of their songs go viral and now they're welcomed into the club. That pool that was reserved for just this small elite group of people has now gone global, and you see content creators, everyday normal people, now given the chance to make these deals with the devil, to make these small incremental deals as they slowly sacrifice who they are on the altar of fame and fortune and power and influence and wealth. And so this is the era that we're living in. So this is one of the main reasons why I'm making this video, because it's not just Hollywood anymore. It's not just this small group of people. It's like this idea of selling your soul, of making a deal. It's now applicable to everybody. You have a phone, you have a social media platform, it could be for you. And it's like there are tens, hundreds of thousands of content creators that go viral, that have crazy followings, that are going to be ripe for the picking, for the dark forces behind the scenes pushing out their agenda. It's not just the small group of, A-list celebrities like it was, but it's like it goes so much deeper than this now. And this Faustian bargain is going to be more and more applicable to everybody now as we move forward. And it's only going to increase when with the rise of technology and communication, and how we're just going to these crazy new levels. It's like, man, this is scary. This is dangerous. And so a lot of people who are young, who blow up on TikTok or blow up on Instagram or blow up on YouTube, and there's no accountability, there's no understanding of what's going on. They're innocent, they're naive, they're just, oh wow, I'm having some success. Oh wow, these big companies are coming at me, asking me to sponsor them, asking me to rep their product, say, hey, we'll pay you money to do videos for us. Wow. And then slowly but surely, actually, well, you can't do a video about this anymore. Start talking more about this. Start repping this ideology. Start repping this political perspective. Hey, and over time, they're just eating these young people up and turning them into mouthpieces for the dark side. And this is why this is dangerous. It's dangerous. And if people aren't careful, man, like, who knows what this is going to look like in another 10 years. But if my daughter, man, when she's a teenager, wants to start doing social media, like, it's going to be a scary thing. And I'm going to be all over that. But so many parents have no idea what their kids are doing, have no idea what kind of content their kids are creating. And their kid could be going viral and they don't even know. And that's scary. And so I think that we're in this new era, this new epoch of time where globally, where everybody has the potential to have a global impact, like global impact. Even in my own social media, like I post on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube all the time. And it's like, I'm a nobody. I have a pretty significant following, but nowhere near the level of these macro influencers. But even me and my stuff, I literally reach people all over the world. Like every continent, so many countries, my stuff gets pushed out to. Like that's crazy. And I'm a nobody. So it's like you have this ability to reach the world. That's power, that's influence that, people 1,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, 500 years ago, that concept was so non-existent that could happen. Now that everyday ordinary people can reach the world with their stuff. That's crazy. I mean, it's an amazing gift, and especially if it's used for good, for God, for positive things, for the spread of the gospel. But man, it's equally as dangerous, and it can be used as a weapon in the hands of the enemy, the dark side, the devil and his minions. I mean, they get a hold of people, and you see the hold and the junk that comes out in the music industry, and you combine that with social media, and it's everywhere. It's so much beyond just radio and TV now. It's like everyone's cell phone. You can reach the world with your stuff. And so this is why this is dangerous. We are in a new era of time where these deals, this Faustian bargain, this making a deal with the devil, whether it's on a big scale or a small scale, it's not just for a small group of people, but it's for the masses now, which is scary because this is going to lead to the third level here. This making a deal with the devil, selling your soul now. I think all of this is pushing to what's ultimately coming down the road in the rise of the Antichrist and the mark of the beast. Because ultimately, when we're talking about making a deal with the devil, selling your soul, it's an issue of where does your allegiance lie? Where does your worship lie? That's essentially what's going on behind the scenes, behind that statement. Who do you worship? And I don't know how it's going to happen. I'm not going to predict times and the way it's going to happen, but there's going to come a time when the Antichrist is going to come on the scene and is going to deceive the world. The whole world's going to be deceived by this guy. Now think about that. That's crazy. Now how would the whole world be deceived? When that scripture was written, I wonder what was going on in their head. Because number one, they have no concept of the whole world. They didn't know about North America and South America and maybe Australia. Like they had no idea of the concept of how big the world was. But to have influence over the world, like that couldn't happen then like it can happen now. Now it makes perfect sense how the whole world could be deceived by one guy. Your cell phone, social media. The fact that everyone has a voice now. The fact that everyone is connected to everyone. The fact that if you're the government or media outlets, you can push out certain agendas that will go to every single person's phone. The fact that they can control algorithms of major social media platforms to push out certain topics, certain ways of thinking, certain philosophies to everyone's phone. Because there's I think combined TikTok and Instagram, like all of them, it's in the billions of people that have one. So this is how deception on a global stage can happen. Like our culture is now ripe for this kind of thing. And so there's going to come a point in time when he comes on the scene and he comes up with this mark of the beast, the infamous 666 mark of the beast, where the Bible clearly says if you want to buy or sell, if you want to basically function in this Antichrist-led society, you're going to have to take this mark. And if you don't, you can't live in this society. You can't function. And so if there's ever a system that's going to come on the scene where you have to literally sell your soul to live, this is it. And that's why I think this whole thing has been one massive push to the ultimate, to the climax of human history, with the mark of the beast and the accepting of whatever that is. Now, again, a lot of speculation as to what the mark of the beast is. My personal opinion, I could be wrong in this, is it's not just a pass that will help, that will enable you to buy and sell and to, function in society. That's one level. But I think it's going to be a piece of technology that is going to literally alter the DNA of the person. Is going to, as we've seen in Genesis 6, where the fallen angels mated with human women, creating a hybrid race, which is what led to God setting the flood, because they were all hybrids. When you look at the conquest narrative in Joshua, why God told Israel to wipe out all the nations. Why? Because they were all giant clan nations. They were all hybrids. And then you look at the rise of this whole alien UFO phenomenon and the hybridization program. They're trying to create hybrids. They're trying to intermingle alien and human together. And then the rise of transhumanism, trying to create humanity 2.0. And so I think this mark of the beast is going to be a piece of technology, something that's going to alter the DNA of a person, where if they take this mark, the salvation becomes impossible, because they will no longer be human, fully human the way God intended them to be. So that's why I think all of this time is leading up to this. This is the ultimate deal with the devil. Hey, take this mark. And yes, you can buy and sell and live in a society functionally, but you're going to become a superhuman. There's going to be some ploy, some tactic in there that's going to deceive humanity to take this mark and then alter their DNA, violate them in such a way that it becomes irreversible. And that's going to be the ultimate deal of the devil, selling your soul, giving your allegiance to the Antichrist, to the beast, ultimately the devil, over Yahweh. Like, that's where this is all heading. And so there's so much stuff out there about end times and prophecy and all this stuff. But I think as I've been contemplating and reflecting on this subject and how it's so much deeper than just fame and fortune and wealth. Like, that's definitely real. It's happening, and it's happening now, and it's happened before, and it will continue to happen. But this concept of people getting deceived, sacrificing who they are, their morals, their standards, in exchange for knowledge, for power, for wealth, for wisdom, for affluence, for all of it, it's all leading towards the ultimate choice. Hey, take this mark and you're going to be like God, essentially. It's going to be something that's going to be so crazy. People who won't take it are going to be in such a minority that it's why it's so scary. And this is why we have to, as Christians, like, preach the gospel, like, get the message of Jesus out there. Because once this dude comes on the scene, and I don't know, is the church going to be here? Is the church not going to be here? I have no idea. But if the church is here during that time, I wonder if the whole world's getting deceived. It scares me, because this guy's going to have influence and control to the likes that we've never seen. And it's like, man, this is scary. And so that's why I think we have to be so awake and sober-minded and aware of what's going on in our culture, in our world. So why we have to hold on to and stand on the values of Scripture, the truth of what God has said. Jesus says in Matthew 16:26, he says, "For what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul?" This is like the verse for our time. And it's only going to increase. The fact that everybody has a voice now, everyone's got their own platform, that the potential to grow in fame and popularity and power and wealth is at an all-time high on a global stage. And it's like, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world, but you forfeit your soul in the process? The Faustian bargain is going to be global. And then ultimately leading towards that final moment, man, when Antichrist is on the scene and the world is deceived, and he's going to come at people with this whatever that is, whatever that mark is going to be. And that'll be the ultimate selling of your soul moment, the ultimate deal with the devil. Literally going to change, that I think is going to be literally changing people, altering who they are. But it's been programmed from the very beginning. I think it's been sown in culture, in society, from ancient civilizations all the way up to our modern day. It's been this overarching agenda leading up to the end. And so, yeah, it's just something that weighs heavily on me, weighs heavily on my heart, and that's why I'm making this video. And whoever sees it, or it's why I'm making this podcast episode as well, like whoever sees it, hears it, I just hope it's just a sober reminder of the times that we're living in, what's going on, and not to be deceived by the pleasures of this world. Because if you live your life for the pleasures of this world, you are setting yourself up for destruction. And so stay close to Jesus, stay in his word, stay connected to like-minded believers. Don't fall into the trap. Don't fall into the trap of the Faustian bargain on whatever scale, small and or big. So that's it for episode 37. Thanks so much for watching and or listening. Feel free to leave any comments, questions in the comment section below. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. That would just help me out tremendously. And if you're listening to this on Apple, Spotify, or wherever else, feel free to leave a review and a comment. That just helps a brother out. Well, thanks so much again, and have an awesome rest of your day or evening. Much love. God bless.